Hi guys, we're back again. We're gonna do another little tutorial. Today we're gonna do this sweet little flower. Don't you love those color bleeds in there? I thought I would show you how they look in something like this. So here's a big one and you can find them in there, and I think that they're kind of the feature. Aren't they so beautiful? So let's learn how to do them. Here are the supplies we're gonna need for today. Just any kind of a regular pencil, and I like to use a kneaded eraser. It just doesn't leave shavings on your paper. And then we'll need a watercolor brush. This one's a size 10 Winsor & Newton round watercolor brush. I love a size 10, and I learned on one brush. I teach on one brush, so we can do everything we need with this guy. These are the paints I'm going to use today, and I can link these as well. I love them because they have a good pink, they have a good teal, and the colors come off really easily. And then what else do we need? We need to have some water. A lot of times I just have mine in a little mason jar, and then a towel or paper towel. And I think that's all we need for today. So if you've got that, get yourself comfy, maybe get a snack, light a candle, and let's get started. I suppose you also need paper. So this is 140-pound cold press watercolor paper, and I've cut this into 3 inches by 3 inches into a little square. And you don't need that. You can just work on any piece of paper, but that's what I'm doing today. And you can see we've got a couple different varieties of what this could look like. You can choose any colors that you want, but the first thing we're going to do is sketch. And when we sketch, the most important thing to me is always that you press lightly with your pencil. That's really because if you press lightly, you can erase easily, which means you can sketch freely. So we're just going to look at these for reference, and we're going to just do some sort of shape like this. And I really like to start by doing a light circle in the center so that our center kind of stays there, and you'll see we'll sort of be working around this circle. But using that as our beginning, let me zoom in a little bit here. We're going to kind of come up and away and then sort of curve it. And you'll notice in these petals, they're going to be made up of straight lines and curves, both. And all the petals can look different. If you see one here that you like, go for it. But generally, I think we'll just do 4 petals on this one. So we'll come here, and this, see that circle? That's what we're using as the bottom of each petal. So then we'll do this one and just give it a little bit of a different shape. Kind of coming up and away. You see how this creates sort of a triangle between the two of them. We want some space here. I came over to the left, rounded my corner, and I'm going to come down. You can curve it a little bit on your way down. And the bottom of this petal is the curve of the circle as well. And then look at this one. This is almost like, this looks like a piece of toast. And so we're going to kind of come over this way, curve the top, bring it in. It's going to come straight down and curve. If you don't like this on the first try, that's why you're pressing lightly with your pencil. You can just erase it and redo it. And the bottom of this, once again, is the curve of the circle. And then we'll do a 4th one here. It just doesn't matter too much. So any shape that you want, it's going to kind of come out, some straight lines and some curves, and meet at that center. So whatever you've got is probably good. If you want to change it now, go ahead and do that while you have pencil and eraser before we get into the paint. So here's my set of paints, and if you want and you have a little spray bottle, it's kind of fun to use. It's absolutely not necessary, but you can give your paints a spray. And then I want you to choose what colors you want. But if you look at these for a minute, you'll notice this one has, there we go. It has yellow as the main color. This is like a burnt sienna that we bring in next. And then this is a very dark brown, maybe even with some black in it. And then just don't worry about the circle. We'll fill that in at the end. If you look at this one, we've got a purple, but it's a light color. We're going to do our light color first. Then we're going to get into, we did a purple. Then we're going to get into the black. Later on, I added some pink into that one. But we need to start with our lighter color and load in the darker colors. So as we make our puddles, I think we're going to do the purple one for today. And so we're going to grab some water on your brush and go to your paints. You can grab whatever color it is you think you want to use, get a little bit of that and swipe it onto here. Right away, that's too dark. So in watercolor, the way you make your colors lighter is by adding water. So I just grabbed some water, put it onto my brush, and I'm just adding water to get this lighter. See how it's lightened up? And I think I want to mix some pink into it. And I like that even better. So I've got a puddle right here that I've created. We're going to work from a puddle today. And then we're going to load in from some of these darker colors that are just right on our paints. So I'm going to choose that in the beginning. Here's my light color. I'll use purple. So I'm going to go to this one when I load in paint. And then when I get into further than that, I'll do like a blackish brown. We can make that one up ahead of time. But the colors you're loading in, you just don't want very much water in them. So see how this is pretty small, but it still flows very well. And then I can do it for the purple just to show you as well. I'm going to grab a bunch of that paint. I want a nice dark color and enough water that it'll spread, but it won't just flow and fill in those petals. So I just cleaned out my brush. We have our colors and we're ready to start. So I'm going to grab this. See, I got my whole brush in there, but if you feel like it's a little bit too much, take some of that off. You can just touch your brush to your towel and get rid of some water if you need it. And we're going to fill in these petals. So I kind of have a lot of water on my brush. And if I find that there's too much water before I add my next color, I'll show you how, but we can lift it right back off. So I'm actually filling all of these in at the same time. If you're unsure, you might just want to do one petal at a time. But the reason I know I can do all four is because can you see the light reflecting on this? It's reflecting real good. Look at that. I don't want it to be puddling or pooling anywhere, but if I can see the light reflecting on it, I know it's all wet, which means now I just cleaned my brush and dried it on my towel. I'm going to grab this nice dark purple paint and I'm just going to touch it to the center. Now, the reason I know it's not going to go all the way to the end is because I don't have too much water. If you have too much water, you're going to sort of lose control and it'll take this dark purple all the way to the end of the petals. But if you have just a little bit of water, it'll keep it kind of close. And I'm even adding a little bit more dark purple right from my paints this time. Now I will clean my brush, dry it on my towel, and I'm going to take this sort of dark brownish black color. And now I want even less water because I know there's water on my paper already. And I'm going to just touch it to these centers. I don't want it to spread as far as my purple because I kind of want to see light purple, dark purple, then this blackish brown. So you have to watch and see what's happening when you touch it. If it spreads really far, you have too much water. But if it won't blend at all, it's too dry. And this might just be something that you want to do on repeat. But look at those color bleeds. Isn't that just so beautiful? There we go. And then you just let it be. So notice I filled it in and I just touched it with my brush. I didn't take my brush and sort of blend it. I let the water do that and pull that paint for us. And that's how we get some of the most beautiful markings. So now I'm going to I have a little heat gun here. You could use a hair dryer, a heat gun, or you could just wait. This is what I'm going to use. I'm going to quick give this a dry, and then we're just going to fill in the center once this is completely dry. So the reason we let it dry before we added anything into the center is that otherwise that black would pull into it. So let's say I did an orange like this or yellow, the black would pull right into it or the yellow would go into the black, and that's just going to turn into sort of a muddy mess. So this just gives us control where we can get our color in there and just know it's going to stay. So I'm actually going to grab, I'll show you what I'm doing here, a little bit of this orange. And see, I have barely any water because it's such a small space. And we'll get in here and we'll just fill this part in. And then we're finished. This is the type of thing, if you do it on repeat for a while, it's going to get easier. Just remember, start with your light color, load your darker color in, but you don't need as much water once you start loading them in because you'll have water on your first layer. And then you just play with it. A little less water for the black so that it doesn't flow as far as that dark purple, and you've created a really beautiful flower.